Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 80 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 5. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. That obviously didn't end in the best way possible, one could say. It was going really well. There may have been a 5-way fight for the race lead, but we never really got to see that at all, you know, either physically or an actual literal sense of the race, because we had a DNF. Our turbo failed us, just before the first round of pit stops, and it was kind of sad because we'd only just got into the race lead. Really nice move on Russell, having caught up to that top 5 pack and made our way through that, and it could have been a really juicy fight between ourselves, McLaren, Mercedes, Williams with Guan Yu Zhou as well, and in the end, a turbo failure ended our race very prematurely, and of course, with a failure like that, mechanical failure where you can't restart the race and avoid it, it's pretty much a guarantee then it's always going to happen to you. You have to firm it, but also with that, we couldn't watch the rest of the Grand Prix, so we didn't get to see how it happened, but George Russell was able to become the very first repeat winner of Season 5, winning around the Red Bull Ring. It was a double McLaren podium. In between, though, was Pierre Gasly, very surprising, finally gets on the mark. He actually set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so for the first time, Gasly sort of somewhat looking anywhere near to the driver he was in Season 4. You know, he was in a championship battle with us and Button last season, and now he's on 29 points in total, and he's only just got his first podium, only just got his first top 5 finish, actually. So that is actually just mad to think about. But yeah, McLaren coming strong, and the Constructors' Championship, for the first time in a while, we are now no longer top. McLaren are there. So with that double podium, they've kind of announced themselves as being in the Constructors' fight. It's not going to be an easy run to a 4th World Championship for our team in a row, that would be as well in the Constructors' terms, and clearly Russell has announced himself as being one of the candidates, being the only man with a repeat win so far this season. So we're going to have to kind of pull up our socks and bounce back in some style here at the British Grand Prix. We got 0 R&D points from that, so fantastic job by the team to offer nothing in condolence from our failure of the turbo, but of course we don't actually need any R&D points in terms of we've got plenty and our car is maxed out. But yeah, we go on to the British Grand Prix then, looking to, well actually, to be fair, I say bounce back. We know that the car is quick. You know, I was on to race for the win. We just got into the lead before that failure, so it's not like we don't know if the car's going to have the pace. I think we do. I think it's just about going out there and actually performing and doing the job, but it's going to be a bit more difficult maybe potentially on Saturday, as there is a lot of rain forecast. That's pretty much guaranteed it's going to be raining now on the Saturday, and maybe even the Sunday. It says 24% chance of rain for the Sunday. So in typical British fashion, the weather is, making us feel welcome. Really nice warm welcome here at Silverstone in the cold, damp Saturday as we go into qualifying day around the British Grand Prix. So we're going to be starting on the full wet tyres, maybe getting to the inters later in the day, but this is going to be just tiptoeing around, trying to find the confidence in the car already. We've fueled it up for, I think, 3 consecutive qualifying laps, so we're just going to pound round basically and try and find the grip in the corners, try and find the kind of better racing line, how kind of late I can brake into each corner and dare put on the power as early as I can through some of these corners, getting 1.1 seconds, in only like the first couple of corners then in the village section on our second flyer, just showing how tentative I was on the first run and how much you kind of build confidence, at least for me personally on this game, in the wet, just by doing consecutive laps basically. So that second run a little bit better, still only P16 then, so we need this third run to be even better, and we're gaining about 9/10 then. Purple first sector, green the second, so this should surely be the one that's going to get us through into this second part of qualifying here. Usually a formality, but in the wet it is not anything but, really, to be honest. So here we go, cross the line, and that's a lot more like it. That's a lot more like it. Second place there, just behind behind Gasly. Eventually, it's going to be down to P4 with Leclerc in P5. So quite equalised, you would say. But the two AlphaTauris then looking strong initially in this first part of qualifying, in the wet at least. So maybe the AlphaTauri is suiting the wet conditions maybe around here. The Williams and Ferrari looking like they're struggling a tad, but it may just be Q1. You know, the fact that obviously it's all, even in the wet, even more so than just being Q1, can mix things up. We'll really know now in Q2, but I would say we're going to find out, not straight away, because we've got a fuel system fault.
We've got a situation at the moment. Seems like something's off with the fuel injection system. We're looking into it, but we're going to be out of action for a few minutes.
For a few minutes indeed. 4 minutes, in fact. So if this was Q3, we'd be absolutely screwed. But thankfully, there is a bit of time here. So we'll still get about 10 minutes in the session to go out on intermediates then. So it is getting drier. I don't know whether it's going to get dry enough for maybe the slicks in Q3. Who knows? But at the moment, inters, it's maybe slightly better. I mean, on this game, at times, the inters actually feel worse than the full wet conditions, because you've got that kind of jeopardy of it kind of being sort of, maybe dry in parts, a little bit slippery, not fully there for the kind of, the tread on the tyres. But nonetheless, we'll go on and we'll see what we can do. The others have already set some lap times then, so we know what to aim for. Let's go across the line. What's it going to be? It's actually a pretty damn good lap time. Whoa, where's that come from? P1 then. For once, I actually looked semi-competent in the wet. I don't know what's going on here. We're down to P3 now, as Guan Yu Zhou has gone quicker. Norris as well, as everyone goes for a second flyer. We've only gained about 2/10 here on this second flying lap. Bottas now is quick as all. So the Williams, they've come alive in Q2. Sainz up into P4. So even the Ferraris are getting a bit more pace on the intermediates then compared to Q1. Gasly a little bit down there with both AlphaTauris losing pace in Q1. We go across the line, and we are going to make it through into the top 10 shootout in P5, but Leclerc is not going to do the same. It was a very topsy-turvy qualifying, the end of it. He had so many people catapulting themselves up the order. The Williams, the McLarens looking so strong, and Russell clearly feeling himself and, in the moment, has so much focus at the moment with P1 in Q2 here. But yeah, Leclerc, surprised to see him knocked out, along with Schumacher, Ricciardo and Ocon. Not surprising for those three, but Leclerc, he just got caught out. I don't know whether he just didn't, he clearly just didn't improve on his second run and maybe only just had the first one, but he's knocked out then. So in a race where kind of, obviously we need to bounce back individually, wanting to do better after the DNF that we had, but we kind of need Leclerc to be there as well to help us fight the McLarens, both of them, because, even though Russell was clearly the quicker man at the moment this season versus Lando Norris, both of them with the double podium last race, and both of them in the top 4 in Q2, they're going to be a threat in the constructors, so we need every point we can get ready. So that's a bit of a shame, but we can't do much about that. We can just have to go on and try and do the best job we can individually now, and it is going to be time for the slicks. It's a bit damp right now, the rain droplets are still there, but we'll go on and set kind of a banker lap time, if you will, before our kind of second run, which should be fully kind of in dry conditions for everyone. But let's see who draws first blood here. The McLarens and Williams, I think, setting down a marker. Norris up ahead of us in P6 at the moment. His lap time, Guan Yu Zhou ahead of him. We've got Sainz behind us. We go quickest of all, but then it's taken away from Carlos Sainz, who's right behind us, and he's gone 3/10 quicker. But we're in P2 ahead of Russell, ahead of the likes of Giovinazzi, Verstappen. Bottas has gone in the P2. So as it stands, we're on the second row alongside the Italian in the Red Bull, and it's Ferrari on pole position, Sainz there. But now on this second run, you can see it's so much drier. We've gained 1 second alone in the village section in Sector 1. Sainz goes quicker of all. Everyone's going quicker. We're down to P9, so this needs to be a good lap time. 2.1 though. Look at the massive difference a completely bone-dry track makes. But we've got Sainz on provisional pole. He's gone quickest of all again. Can we try and supersede him? No! Don't think so, but we got so bloody close. Oh my days. Look how unbelievably close that top 4 is. That is unbelievable. That's crazy. That's mad. Sainz on pole. We have got another front row. I think our third front row in 4 races. So we've actually been a pretty good qualifier, you know, this season, really. The last 4 especially. I know Austria was a bit of a blip, but we're back to on form on the front row. And we'll have a good chance of going for that race lead with Carlos Sainz there alongside us on the front row. Giovinazzi and then Gasly share the second one. Verstappen does so well in, you know, that very mediocre, let's remember, Mercedes to be ahead of the championship leader, Russell, and the other McLaren of Lando Norris then. And the 2 Williams, they'll be very disappointed. In dry conditions, they just were nowhere. What has gone on with them? They're going to have to make up the places for sure in the race. We know there may be rain in the race. There's a 24% chance of rain. So let's go to the grid and let's see if the weather is going to be in our favour or not. I'd kind of rather it be dry, but with 24% chance, Britain, I think, you know, there's a fair chance there may be some precipitation. Let's find out.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every single year of the Formula One World Championship. And the circuit extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's have a chat about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position and the owner driver alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Giovinazzi, Gasly, Max Verstappen and Russell, Norris, Tsunoda, Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou, Mick Schumacher, Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo and Ocon, Hamilton, Stroll, Nikita Mazepin and Callum Ilott, Latifi, Aitken, Lundgaard and Nobuharu Matsushita. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So in a very surprising turn of events, there's actually no rain forecast for this race. 24% chance, but then in reality on the day, the forecast is saying just overcast the entire Grand Prix. So not exactly shining through for a great home Grand Prix, but you know, it's at least a little bit better than some wet weather, because I think we can do a lot better in the dry. Clearly in the dry, we've got some pace here. We're on the front row. You know, we're literally a couple of thousands behind Carlos Sainz, so we could have easily got pole position. So we have genuine pace over 1 lap. The race pace hopefully is going to be there. It was in Austria by a massive margin, you know, in the way we came through those 5 cars at the start of the Grand Prix. Tyre wear is going to be a big factor around here. I think it's a one-stop, you know, here on screen, but we know from previous, seasons that the tyre wear could be high enough to force cars into a late second stop. So maybe it's better to go aggressive, or we have to default to the hard compound, which is not a tyre I love using, but around Silverstone has been proven to actually be quite a consistent tyre once it kind of rubbers in. So we'll kind of keep an eye on it and play it by kind of ear in the first part of this Grand Prix. But let's go then to 5 red lights to our home race. The British Grand Prix is underway as the lights are at a slow start for the Ferrari as well. Could we get into the lead early into turn 1? Down or inside. Oh, Gasly out of nowhere. The AlphaTauri tries to get through into P1. The Ferrari retakes the lead. It was 3 wide for a split second there, and I just daren't stick my nose in. Yellow flags behind in the village section. There's always a bit of contact there. We've got back past Pierre Gasly though, up into P2, so the status quo has been kind of reinstated here from qualifying, as myself and Sainz are 1 and 2. Gasly, Giovinazzi in 3 and 4 right now, with Verstappen close behind in P5. Is Gasly has a little sniff around our outside and instead is going to actually get dive bombed and attacked backed by Giovinazzi in the Red Bull there. So the more senior team Red Bull trying to get through into P3. Of course, AlphaTauri, almost the noisy little sisters last season, but it's very much been a different dynamic here this season. Giovinazzi being one of the differences, big player for Red Bull, doing so well. He's got unlucky a few times with the obviously reliability issues, but he's been so good in that Red Bull. I think you guys will agree as we now watch on Gasly just tumbling down the order maybe as Verstappen going for a move in the Mercedes on the inside, and he's going to be up into P4. Nice sling through there, but Gasly might come back at him though as he dive bombs back the Frenchman v the Dutchman through the last two corners. Side by side, bit of contact made. Verstappen gets the elbows out. Gasly still round the outside, but no, the Dutchman will remain in P4, and now Gasly will feel the pressure from Lando Norris, Bottas, Russell. There's a massive train nose to tail down from Gasly to, I would say, Yuki Tsunoda in P11. So the train kind of sandwiched between two AlphaTauris. Verstappen, though, all calm in his world. P4 now, clean air. He can try and chase after Giovinazzi, doing another stunning job. You know, we've seen in flashes how good Verstappen is still in Season 5. You know, he may be in a mediocre Mercedes, but he's dragging that so far up the order compared to his teammate Hamilton, who, you know, we hardly talk about. We talked about him briefly last episode. You know, he's down in P14 right now, along with Leclerc, but Leclerc's really struggling. I don't know what's going on with Charles on the other side of the car. Race winner at Imola. He's outside the top 10 right now, trying to, you know, just scrounge for the wooden spoon, I guess, and hopefully it's just a bit of a blip from qualifying and he can try and find some confidence, and maybe it's just obviously the first laps of, you know, traffic and whatnot as he, oh my god, as he makes a beautiful move on the outside of Hamilton there, I think, or defending Hamilton. Either way, it was really daring. They were side by side in Maggott and Beckett, and Hamilton tries to go around the outside. Leclerc has to defend so hard. It's Porsche v Mercedes. Leclerc v Hamilton on the outside. Charles, can he get this through and keep the P13? What is going on here? This is a very weird fight. Leclerc v Hamilton for P13. The Alpine might get involved. Esteban Ocon, here he comes. The Frenchman on the inside. This is going to be tight. 3 wide into turn 1, but eventually one car must be ahead. Meanwhile, we've got further fighting between Ricciardo and Mick Schumacher. This has been an electric British Grand Prix start. You know, it's all kicking off. There's fighting from all the way down the order, right to the top there, as Ricciardo now is looking to make a move on Schumacher. Schumacher coming back, though. The Red Bull, the German, struggling compared to his teammate, the Italian, way up in P3 here. So, you know, we've said it before, this season's definitely been a season of massive disparity between teammates. You know, we've had Tsunoda v Gasly, that difference. You know, Schumacher, Giovinazzi, Ricciardo, Sainz. Even now, myself and Leclerc, one of the few partnerships that was very close. You know, we literally were talking about how good it's been and why we're in a commanding lead in the constructors, but it's kind of unraveled from last episode to now with Leclerc struggling. Meanwhile, we're here in P2. We've got the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and we're gaining on Carlos Sainz, and we're going to dive down the inside and try and get the lead of the Grand Prix, and we'll get it. Sainz can't do it on the exit. He just doesn't have the kind of acceleration I thought he would have to keep it side by side down the crest as we go through to the last 2 quarters. So we're up into P1 then at our home race. But we've got a long race ahead of us, and clearly, for whatever reason, something's in the water this weekend. It's seeming very competitive as everyone is willing to make some moves, and Sainz pressurising us into village. We've got a bit too deep. We're nearly off circuit on the left-hand side, so a bit wide there, and that allows Sainz to just have a bit of a look on the outside. We're going to remain in the lead for now, but for how much longer? We're deploying ERS all the way down this straight, but the Ferrari is going to have DRS, which is the massive difference here as we go toe-to-toe now, side by side through Luffield. The Ferrari on the outside. Surely we have the better racing line, but no, Sainz is doing amazingly right round the outside. This is amazing stuff. Wheel to wheel. Sainz, though, off circuit a little bit there on the left-hand side, and now he brake checks us into Cops. It's all kicking off, but a titanic little moment there between ourselves and the Spaniard. Porsche v Ferrari. Ferrari, two very iconic brands in sports cars going toe-to-toe at the home of Formula 1. Giovinazzi might get involved here as well now as we go through Magnussen Beckett. He's actually gained a bit of time. The Red Bull looking pretty good, but we have DRS now again to make a move in this same corner, and we've actually got it even easier than last time. We're back into the lead, but for how much longer? Because Sainz was able to just re-overtake us very easily going into Luffield and that whole section. So going to try and almost find some sort of way to push away in this first sector to try and break that 1 second and at least try and give us a bit of a gap to, you know, to the point where ERS is useful against the DRS activation from P2 behind us. But it's not just P2. Giovinazzi's there and Verstappen now. This is a top 4 fight as us 4 are pulling away as a pack from the rest of them, and that next pack along is Gasly, Norris, Russell, Bottas, Guan Yu Zhou. Right now back to the action for the race lead. The Ferrari with DRS again. This time we defend to the inside. We're going to try and squeeze Sainz out there on the outside. Oh my god, the Ferrari's made a huge mistake. A big error from Carlos Sainz. He just tried to, I guess, squirt the throttle a bit too much to try and, I don't know, dance his way around the outside of us, and he just completely got it all crossed up. So the Red Bull is up into P2. Giovinazzi doing so well now in this race. Verstappen may even look for an overtake on Sainz. Look at Giovinazzi. He has a little almost lunge on the outside that was into Magnussen Beckett. Such is the exit the AI are getting. I'm so poor off that exit of cops. The AI are so alien-like with how much mid-corner speed they carry, which is something I've noticed with the maxed out cars. And Giovinazzi goes flat around the outside of us and gets us fair and square, and the Italian now leads the race, but it's not all over. We know we can, you know, there's opportunities to re-overtake him. Clearly we've got pace in this car, just need to try and keep it clean and keep it as close as we can to that rear end, and we should have actually a chance to overtake him before we get through to Woodlands and that entire Luffield section. But we've just got to keep it as tight as we can to the apexes and the lines as we can in Village. Meanwhile, the same can be said for Sainz and Verstappen. Verstappen trying to pressurize Sainz and might have an opportunity himself with DRS, but we go back to our POV then. DRS activated now. We've been deploying ERS all the way through even before that first left-hander corner, and we go to the inside then to try and get the lead back from Gio. It's so close on the right-hand side, but Giovinazzi doing a very good job, I must say, placing the car correctly, making it awkward for me. Both the left-hander into Luffield and then the right-hander itself, because now Sainz has a good run. The Ferrari may actually try and go around the outside of Cops. This is going to be so supreme if he can, and we're side by side on the entry, but eventually the Ferrari has to back out of it there, and we just about managed to survive and maintain P2 by the skin of our teeth as we now have, what a move there by Lando Norris, I think that was, on the outside, and Russell's also got Gasly, so the two McLarens have dispatched of the AlphaTauri, who's been a bit of a blockade here so far, and now he's going to be blocking Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. Meanwhile, back to our POV, we continue to chase after Giovinazzi, cutting back though to the action behind, and a hand between Gasly and Bottas. Bottas trying to go around the outside in the Williams, doesn't quite work. You know, definitely Gasly's being a bit of a thorn for those guys who clearly have a bit more race pace at the moment as things stand on the soft compound of time. Meanwhile, let's fully now get back to our POV then in P1, because we're going to have another good chance to maybe get into the lead of the Grand Prix. DRS is going to be coming up. We're already activating ERS now. Here we go. Open the rear flap. Gaining. Giovinazzi sticks to the racing line. We go to the inside once again. This time we're a little bit further alongside and we're able to actually fully get the move before we enter Luffield's right-hander, and we're back up into first place. Giovinazzi, though, is not going to give up the fight. He's very good through this next corner. We need to be wary. You're going to see it straight away as we go through the right-hander. They just have so much more mid-apex speed. Look at that. They just, you know, catapult themselves off that right-hander. So Gio will still be there well within 2/10 or so of ourselves. Meanwhile, Gasly again is still being a great blockade to the Williams. We're being a bit of a blockade to Giovinazzi. He's pretty much pushing us through the end of Beckett's there, and now it's 3 wide for the lead maybe. The Red Bull and the Ferrari both overtake me. We've been swamped. Without DRS, we're helpless, but Sainz compromises himself for whatever reason, goes to the inside there, opens the door for me, and so we're going to just walk right through. Thank you very much. And the same for Max Verstappen now, who's very opportunistic. So not only did Sainz leave the door open for us, but then he kind of got, well, just didn't make the most of the corner and let Verstappen through as well. So Verstappen is up into P3, doing a insane job, it must be said, in the Mercedes car in P3 there, with Hamilton down in P13. But the Red Bull then, the Italian, back into the lead of this Grand Prix. So Giovinazzi's putting up a real good fight. I mean, even the Ferrari, Sainz, came through to make that a double overtake for me, on that straight. I was very much just a sitting duck. I had nothing to answer for it. I was deploying ERS all the way down that straight as we watch on this battle continuing between Bottas and Gasly. The two men who are fighting so much at the end of last season, they're battling out once again in Season 5, but it's for P7 and 8 rather than the race wins and the podiums and being in a championship fight. How things change so rapidly sometimes in Formula 1, and especially in the F1 game when it comes to my team career mode. But here we are then, lap 9. For the third time lucky this will be to overtake Giovinazzi now, again on the inside. This time he's a bit harsher on the defence than he was that previous attempt. He's still there on the inside. Oh, very close. We're nearly touched tyres on the front right to the left. We're going to get a bit of a better exit though. ERS usage, we've clearly got a bit more overspeed. Can we make a move round the outside of Copse? This is going to be quite something. This is a titanic battle between myself and Giovinazzi. Verstappen might join. No. Oh, Verstappen's through. We backed out of it. That was not going to end well. Verstappen, with his aggression he's known for in real life, just carves his way through and punches past both of us to get into P1. He forced that. He forced that through, because if I had committed to going through and trying to defend that P1, there would have been an almighty crash. So Verstappen's AI doing very much what he does in real life sometimes, giving you no option but a crash, or letting him through essentially. A bit cheeky of him, but we're now in, because I thought, okay, we've just had this titanic battle. Now's the time to come in, because I reckon if Giovinazzi, Sainz and Verstappen fight enough now, I could actually undercut them now on this sort of hard tyres. So it will have to be the hards, because this is a bit earlier in the race, but I think the tyre weight's so high. Wait, hang on. Front wing change. Did we get damage? We must have got damage. Oh, God. And hey, we just got the medium tyre as well. Oh, no. Okay, lads, we have an issue here. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, even though I definitely chose the hard tyre option, I'm pretty sure at the start of the race, I've been given the mediums, which is a bit too early, so the tyre wear is going to be a bit questionable at the end of this stint. It may mean the undercut's quite powerful here, to be fair, so it might be a 200 IQ play, but this is why the front wing was changed. We must have got damage here. It's simulation damage, remember, so the subtlest of taps. I don't think we made contact with Verstappen, to be fair. That's him forcing the move. You can see from his POV, he just waltzed through, because he basically gave myself and Gio the decision to make of what was going to happen, either a crash or an overtake. But, oh, was it that contact, maybe, with Giovinazzi? Let's look running on board with the Ferrari. He gets a very good look. This is the best view, actually, because this is Verstappen on the left, just forcing his way through. I back out of it. I start braking early to duck out the 3 wide. But if we look on here on board with the front wing view, if we slow it down as we start braking earlier to let these two squabble, there is the contact. So subtle. Just a tiny graze on Giovinazzi as he goes by us. But that was enough for a front wing change. So actually, in the end of it, it's actually a very good decision that I just decided it was time to come in anyway due to trying to get an undercut. Because I didn't know we had damage. The heads-up display did not tell me, as it never does with that kind of subtle damage. So actually, it's a kind of almost a miracle that we just decided to come in anyway. Because if we'd done this lap with the front wing damage, we would pretty much be swamped by the McLarens by now. So in the end of it, maybe saved our race a little bit. Verstappen continues on, as does Gio and Sainz, I believe. So this is why I said I wanted the hards, because in reality, I actually pit a lot earlier. These guys will be going till at least lap 12 or 13, I would say, and then on to the mediums. And if the tyre wear is high enough, we could face some issues of, maybe puncture territory by the end of this one on the mediums. So we're going to have to watch out for that. But, my team I don't know what they did, because I thought I selected the hard, so I don't know, a bit of a, mistake on their part, but we'll just go on with it. Like I said, as we watch on Guan Yu Zhou fighting and overtaking Gasly. Gasly's been in the wars with the Williams for so long now in this race. The two jockeying. Oh, look at this. This is so exciting. We've had so many side-by-sides in Luffield, but like I said, maybe, it may be bad later on in the race for us to be in mediums. But right now, it actually may be, favourable for us to get an undercut. And remember, because of the front wing change, we lost some more time in the pit stop. So we're going to need the mediums actually to counteract the time we lost changing the front wing. So swings and roundabouts. I guess by the end of this race, we'll kind of figure out if it was the right call or not. But at the moment, we watch on Giovinazzi right up the chuff of Verstappen. Could Gio go for a move? No, he comes into the pit as the Mercedes and Ferrari continue on. So Giovinazzi and Lando Norris pull the trigger and they go for the undercut. Giovinazzi was right underneath Verstappen's rear ring there. So maybe clever from the Red Bull guys to try and get the lead of this Grand Prix. But it must be said, Verstappen's doing an insane job. He's doing a miracle right now of having that Mercedes in P1 still. Sainz though close behind, closing up within 1 second. Russell as well is there. The championship leader has now arrived. He's within 1 second of the Ferrari. So it may be a 5-way fight, even a 6-way fight if Lando Norris gets involved for this race win then potentially. So this is going to be very, very juicy indeed. But right now, back to our POV. It's been a pretty quiet first, second phase of this Grand Prix, I can't lie. Been alone on circuit, just getting our head down. Not trying to go too quickly though. You can see as we go into turn 1, we're behind Bottas. So we've lost so much time that we're behind, well, effectively both McLarens this will be, and Bottas in the race order. So that's how much time we lost with the front wing change. But you may have noticed I wasn't setting purple sectors, because on purpose I'm trying to not take too much life out of that medium tyre, just in case it kind of fails us at the end of this Grand Prix, as it does with Carlos Sainz. Oh my goodness me, there's been a tyre failure here at the British Grand Prix. It's like 2013 all over again. Carlos Sainz with a puncture on the front left. His tyre wear was way too much, and now he's crashed with Guan Yu Zhou. And there's going to be a bit of a ruckus, a pile-up of sorts, debris on the circuit. But the Ferrari has to limp round the final corner before he gets to the pit lane entry. The Ferrari's still in the race, but he's got a puncture. That's just off pure tyre wear, unless, he went over the curb and the curb cut his tyre or whatever. But the full-course safety car is now out, so that's going to be a massive advantage for everyone who's not pit yet. So if we weren't already at a disadvantage in this race, we try and get through the pile-up there, and Sainz on the right limping. That looks so sad for him. The pole sitter Ferrari, they have looked quick in the hands of Sainz this season. They have, there's no doubt about that, but they've been so unlucky with things like this and just general Ferrari things that happen to them, and this is one of them. I mean, just chasing after Verstappen and then wow. We haven't seen that much with the AI before, but just a flat-out puncher due to tyre wear, I guess, or he hit the curb a bit harshly, I don't know, but he's got the puncher. He's going to have to make a change now. The safety car's out, so at least he'll, bunch up a bit, but that's how Guan Yu Zhou then lost his front wing. So that's 2 championship contenders, remember. Sainz and Guan Yu Zhou, 2 people in the top 4 who have now got serious issues in their race under this safety car. So that is a big plus for me and Russell. We're down in P7, but it's still a plus for us, really, in terms of versus them lot.
Okay, there appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
Oh, no. No. None of that, please. None of that, engineer. Please tell me, oh, we fixed the issue. It's all restored. Because we had this message last race, and after that happened, our turbocharger went. We're under safety car now. I'm pretty sure we're going to green in lap or 2. We're in P7. We're not even that bad off from the front wing change, so I think we could still go for the race win. Verstappen leads the way, so he's going to be a bottleneck, but no! Oh no, the engine's gone up in smokes! We've got another DNF! It's another mechanical failure! I can't actually believe it. I can't, for the first time ever in career mode history for me on this channel. We've got 2 DNFs in a row, and they're 2 mechanical, randomly determined things that I cannot change the course of one bit. you know, we only have the option of retiring. That's it. Our British Grand Prix ends again with a DNF as it did in Season 4. And this is going to be catastrophic for our championship. As no matter what happens, we're going to lose massive points. Oh my god, what?
Well, they've done a brilliant job, I must say, under some intense pressure to take a well-earned victory here at the British Grand Prix. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
And this is even worse. This is even worse. Literally the worst person to win this race has won the race. George Russell has won another Grand Prix. It's his second win in a row, third win overall this season. He's going to be dominating the championship. It's a 1-2 for McLaren. And Gasly in P3, because we retired, obviously the rest of the race simulates. So, I mean, I guess, well, to be fair, the only two that were left from the kind of top original fight were Verstappen and Giovinazzi. And Giovinazzi's been pushed down to P7, and Verstappen finished in P4. I don't know what went on, but it's a 1-2 for McLaren. The game is going all in favour of McLaren lately. And, well, Russell is now 42 points ahead of me. He's 33 points ahead of Guan Yu Zhou in second. Norris is in P3, so they've got two cars in the top three of this championship. You know, we're only just ahead of Sainz still, and both of us have lost ground. And Verstappen has now jumped Leclerc, because even though Leclerc scored points, he started a very poor race. And so in the constructors, it's game on. McLaren, it's in their court. We've got to chase after them. 54 points. McLaren now up into P1, but now the status quo is sort of resetting again, as you see Williams and AlphaTauri, they're in P3 and 4. It's a bit more familiar to last season, I guess you could say. And Ferrari and Red Bull, for all their, you know, good start to the season this year, they've fallen back to P5 and 6, where they kind of were in Season 4. So very peculiar patterns forming in this middle part of the Grand Prix, in this middle part of the season. But it's wow, this is concerning for us, like genuinely. 42 points behind the championship leader. Are you kidding me? We're gonna have to win multiple races, I think, if Russell continues to be this consistent. Like, unless he DNFs once or twice, like we have, we're gonna have to win multiple races. Anyone is gonna have to win multiple races now to come back at him, because he is looking mighty fine. Wow. Well, the whole season just got turned on its head. My season's got turned on its head. For the first time ever in career mode history, I think, we've had 2 DNFs in a row, and even more so, history, both of them have been mechanical random faults that I have no control over. Wow, I'm actually flabbergasted. This is crazy. This is mental. Guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, I mean, it was a fantastic race up to that point, and then I'm sure it would have been fantastic if you could have watched it. But, you know, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. When you're around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And I will see you guys next time in the most crucial episode there probably ever will be this season, as we kind of have to go out and try and aim for the top, well, P1, really, if we're being true to ourselves with that 42-point gap. Till then, hope you enjoyed your day. Goodbye.